in touch with us through Instagram.
And speaking of that,
Mhm.
thank you, Krista. I'm taking over so we can get started. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We have a very exciting episode of the Madafeh program. Madafeh means guest house in Arabic. And the old days, each village had a Madafeh house where visitors who were passing by can just go and stop in and receive the latest hospitality of food and accommodation there with no questions asked for 3 days and a third. Um, and today we have a very interesting artist that we'll be meeting shortly, and we'll ask Krista to give an introduction in a minute. Just wanted to point your attention that we are recording this session, and the Palestine Museum US reserved the right to publish the recordings on social media, including YouTube. And if you continue to participate and listen to this program, you hereby agree to those terms and conditions. And if you don't, this is a good time as any to exit the program. Thanks everyone for staying with us. I'm Faisal Saleh, the founder and executive director of the Palestine Museum US. And I'd like to ask Krista if she could provide us with a brief introduction to our guest, Suzy Tamimi.
Welcome, Suzy. We're so honored to have you with us. Suzy Tamimi is a Palestinian textile artist. She's been drawn to traditional Palestinian clothing and textiles since her youth. Of course, the traditional Palestinian tatriz is incorporated into her work. After studying fashion and textile design at the Academy of Art at the University in San Francisco, and also inspired by her own family history as a Palestinian, she felt compelled to bring positive change to the world using fashion as her medium. And so she has a new collection called Freedom Fighter, which is a political and humanitarian expression implementing indigenous fabrics and innovative textile design to pay homage to the past with eyes to the future. The collection is primarily athletic wear, unpretentious and practical, and the trims of traditional Palestinian fabrics that decorate the sleeves and collars are hand embroidered by Palestinian women refugees. Freedom Fighter is printed in both Arabic and English text using both uncomplicated typography. It's really stunning. I'm sure we'll be able to see some of that today during our conversation. So without further ado, welcome Suzy. And Suzy is tuning in from Brooklyn, New York. So honored to have you. And behind Faisal there, I'll just point out is a piece called Farewell by Fayez al-Hassani. He is from Khan Yunis and was injured in Gaza during this past horrific times, although he's now was able to leave Gaza. But that piece is from 2012 and just shows the longstanding history of suffering and how Palestinians have been forced to let go of their loved ones through this ongoing genocide that predates October 7th. So welcome, Suzy. Without further ado, we'll get started.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Krista. I'm going to ask Suzy a couple of questions, and then Krista, then you can join in with the questioning, and we'll manage the audience questions that come through the chat or the Q&A. And later on, you will have an opportunity as a participant to join us on the panel if you so wish to. We'll let you know at the time. So, Suzy, excuse me. What is your Palestinian connection? Tell us who you are from a Palestine perspective.
Well, Palestine is in my blood. I'm 100% Palestinian. My father is originally from Khalil, and I refuse to call it Hebron because that's not the name that we called it. That's not the indigenous name. My dad passed away about 6 years ago. Allah yarhamu. My mom is from a small village called Sandala. So she's Falahiyya. Both of my parents moved to East Jerusalem after 67. And yeah, and then they moved to the States and had me. But I've always felt a strong connection to my Palestinian roots, even being born in America. I never really felt accepted by this country, and I still don't, for obvious reasons. Um, I loved how passionate our culture is, how loving, how welcoming, the hospitality, the food, um, the art, and then our yeah, tatris, which I'm wearing. And I've always felt that Palestine was my home. And I felt that, being here in America with I'm going to say in quotes, the freedoms that we have here, I feel privileged, and I feel that I need to make the most of my opportunities for being here and to really, highlight our culture and talk about our people and be able to connect to other people from around the world through art.
So, thank you. Let me answer James Blancett's question. The city that's called Hebron in English and Hebron in our occupiers' vernacular is called Al Khalil in Arabic. And the
Yeah.
Al is the article. Like if you go to
Mhm.
Portugal, you hear Al Bufeira, Al this, Al that. A lot of the Palestinian towns start with Al, like Al
Yeah,
Khalil.
Al
Al
Khalil.
Al Quds, which is Jerusalem. So Al Khalil, Khalil, Al Khalil um,
Thank you for that.
is
Yeah.
the proper pronunciation. And from now on our show, we shall not utter the word Hebron.
Thank you.
Well, and of
It,
course, one of the first things that the state of Israel did when it declared statehood was to rename many areas of Palestine or to Hebraize names.
500,
Uh, yeah,
five
you
hundred
know,
villages were
build
renamed.
build new settlements and draw from the indigenous names and just Hebraize them to help the world forget that there was even such a thing as Palestine. Of course, that hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. So, thank you for emphasizing that, Suzy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
important to remind everyone that Palestine is a real place and has very ancient names that predate the state of Israel and go back for millennia. So,
Most
My
so
second,
definitely.
important.
my second question, Susie, is how did you get into the art business? Tell us from the beginning.
Well, yeah, I mean, I never really looked at art as a business. And I guess I'm forced to kind of think about money, right? Trying to survive and to sustain my creativity, um, so that I can keep this work going. And yeah, so it all started when I was a really young girl. In school, I always excelled in the arts. I was always drawn to painting, pottery, anything to do with creating with my hands, I loved, and that was my way of expressing myself. Um, I used to hide in my mom's room and play with her clothes and play dress up, and that was a way of expression. And I was just drawn to fashion. I was drawn to so many different types of art. So yeah, I found that out really early in life, and then I studied art in throughout, high school and college. I did a focus on fashion and textile design. Um, and then I decided to really dive deep into my culture and my heritage and just like think about, our ancient tradition of tatris and how can I reinvent that? How can I not really reinvent it, but I guess use it in innovative ways that can connect to a wider audience. So I started creating pieces that men can wear. Sportswear is so many people wear sportswear. So I figured that that would be a place where many people can connect. And oh, I can wear a hoodie with, oh wow, what is this? And then just starts a conversation with people, and then they want to learn what is tatris, where is it from, and then a lot of people message me and they say, thank you so much for I had no idea what Palestine was, or I didn't even know it was a country that existed. I didn't know about the culture. So it's kind of a gateway to open up conversation and bring awareness to us as a people. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like art is a part of me. It's a huge part of who I am. I am a very sensitive person and I feel very deeply like most artists, and I needed this outlet to be able to express myself. And I'm also, very connected to humans and humanity. And I think that um, being able to exist in a world where we're all treated with the same freedoms and equality is very important to me since I was young. I mean, I remember watching Martin Luther King speak when in third grade, and I was in the back of the classroom crying, and I just always felt a need to understand why certain people were treated a certain way, and I just knew it was wrong at a very early age. So, in many ways, I'm also an activist with my artwork.
Suzy, I'm sure that you also display your art. I know you've had some incredible opportunities. I want you to just talk about those where you've been asked to display your artwork to help tell the Palestinian story. And then, of course, as you just mentioned, you create art that people can wear. And I just put your website on in the chat. You guys should check that out. There's incredible stuff that you can actually purchase from her website to support her artwork and to tell the story of Palestine in the clothes that you wear each and every day. Talk about those intersections of exhibiting your art and also making it available to the general public to wear.
Yeah, so in 2015, I was blessed to meet Hanan Munayyer, who is a curator. She's an author. She's a historian of Palestinian dress. And I went to her home in New Jersey and I was able to see all her beautiful collection. And she had a lot of old vintage scraps of tatris that would have been sitting in a bag in someone's closet or discarded. And I asked her if I could purchase them, and she said, "Yeah, of course." And so I purchased these fabrics from her, and she said, "If you're interested, you can create a modern day gown
Mm-hmm.
using these fabrics." And I'm curating an exhibit at the UN here in New York, which will be up for a month. It was called Threads of Continuity. And it was about preserving Palestinian identity through tatris.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I jumped and said, yes, I'll do it. And I created a gown. I also had some work that I bought from women in Gaza, from UNRWA, back in
Mm-hmm.
2014, that was also exhibited. So I created the gown, which was exhibited, and then two shawls that were also exhibited. So it gave me a lot of joy to show the handwork of women in Gaza, and I let them know that it would be up in this exhibit, and that was kind of the launching pad to me diving deeper into tatris and like creating other pieces like sneakers and
Mm-hmm.
sweatsuits and all sorts of things. And I also do, dresses, and I do pretty much anything you can imagine, I will create. And now I'm working with women in Jenin, in the refugee camp. And it's a really heartbreaking situation. And regardless of the nightmare that they deal with daily, they still want to work. They still want to embroider, and they tell me, that it's a way for them to kind of process and deal. It's like a healing, therapy for them to be able to embroider while they're going through all this violence and the oppression, the occupation. There's more soldiers. There's so much people. There's a lot of people. And basically, what happened in Gaza is happening in Jenin right now. On a different scale, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, 26,000 people have been displaced from the Jenin refugee camp. The army, as you said, the full presence is there. There's
Yeah.
bulldozers. They have drones. They've done airstrikes. It's really a horrific situation. They're also, so what's happened to the women in the camp? Are they displaced?
Suzy,
And
I mean, sorry, Krista, just one moment.
yeah,
Yes,
I wanted to share with people Hanan Munayer's book.
it's
hmm
Now,
beautiful.
there's an English version, but it was sold out and it's out of print and it's going to
Yes.
take several months to get them. In the meantime, there's an Arabic version. Hanan Munayer is by far the authority on Palestinian embroidery and thobes, etc. And this is the authoritative book about the subject. It's close to like 600 pages. And there's not a lot of Arabic writing in it. So if you don't know Arabic, you could still benefit from having it because there are a lot of pictures. If you see a Palestinian authentic thobe, you can look it up in the book and find out what it is and what country, what village it's from. And there are a lot of information in it that you can find useful. Hopefully, the English version will come out soon, but it may take a few months, as we were told. So uh, this is on our website. You can order it if you want. Um, just wanted to put a plug for Hanan Mnayer. She's really an awesome
She's
person.
Yeah, she's amazing. I do have that. I own that book and I was lucky enough to have it signed, so I'm so thankful. And
oh wow.
I heard that it was out of print for a long time, so it's a big treasure for me that I have it. So thank you for that,
Yeah.
for showing the book.
So,
It's
uh,
beautiful.
Susie, I forgot to show you our version of the book that we have. Before this book came out by Interlink, the English and the Arabic version, it used to be published in London, and it was a much bigger book and came in a bigger box, and it cost like $900. So we have one of those signed by Hanan.
That's the one I have, the one in the box.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
The
So
big
next time
coffee
you
table
come,
one.
I'll show you ours.
Yeah. Nice.
yeah, I have a copy of the book too. It's really stunning. It's
So
Sorry,
quite
beautiful.
something.
Krista, sorry for interrupting you. I just
Oh
want,
no, yeah, we were just talking. You mentioned that you work with women in the Jenin refugee camp, and I was just highlighting some of what's been happening there most recently. And I just wonder if you could talk about, I'm sure you're in touch with these women, what their experiences, have their families been displaced, and how are you continuing to work with them under these conditions?
Oh, it's a lot to digest. Yeah, I did talk to the main woman that I met through Instagram actually 5 years ago, and she introduced me to the women in the camp.
Hmm.
And one of the main embroiderers is staying with her in Jenin, but outside of the camp.
Sure.
So I'm not sure about the other two women, what's going on, but I'm sure that the community is so tight that I'm sure
Hmm.
they're doing their best to take care of one another. Um, and yeah, so one of them is staying with my friend. I don't want to say names just for safety
No,
reasons.
you should. That's smart.
Y- Yeah, and I just want to protect them as much as
Yeah.
possible. But she's staying with the one who lives outside of the camp, and she's in her late 70s, and she's been battling cancer, and she's been displaced from the refugee camp over and over again throughout the years. I mean, this kind of thing has happened numerous times, and I've seen the destruction, and they've sent me videos of the water system being uprooted, and the roads being uprooted. Everything's just, they make it so it's inhabitable, and but they still want to create, and that for me is so inspiring.
Well, talk about what does tatriz, which is the traditional cross stitch Palestinian embroidery. There are many cultures that do cross stitch, but tatriz is goes way back and has deep rooted meaning. We've of course shown the film Stitching Palestine from Carol Mansour here many times. I wonder if you could just talk about what tatriz means to Palestinians and what it means to you to showcase that in your work.
Yeah, well, I'm not a Tatriz expert, although I have a mentor. I have many mentors that, I can reference. However, what it means to me, I call them our most beautiful history books. Uh, each dress tells a story, and even one dress can live on for generations, and it's passed down you know, uh, from the mother to the daughter to her daughter, and um, that dress can change. It can be add there. You can add another panel to it. If you're a widow now, you're gonna stitch blue maybe at one part of the dress. If you're breastfeeding, you create a seam in the dress so that you can breastfeed easily. So it's a very sustainable way of using clothing as well. Um, but to me, it's about expression. It's about resilience. It's revolutionary during the Intifada, the Intifada dress, because our flag was banned. Women started stitching the colors of the flag on dresses, and even stitching motifs of rock throwers on dresses, and anything that symbolized Palestinian resistance they were wearing. Um, so for me, it's a way of expression and resilience and keeping our culture alive. This has been in our culture for thousands of years. It dates back. I've looked at um, even when I looked at Wafa Ghanem, she has a book called Thobna that I'm actually published in, and it's about Palestinian embroidery as a revolutionary act. Um, so she would be the expert to really like, as well as Hanan, of course. But those are the people that you really want to talk to about where did it originate? What was the first evidence of tatriz? I mean, some of them you see in like tombs in Egypt, and you see cross stitch embroidery. So yeah, it's an ancient, beautiful, walking billboard of our history. I love it. I just think it's so precious, and there's so much life in each piece. Whenever I get vintage embroidery, I cry sometimes. I could feel the energy in it. It's
Yeah,
very
and
powerful.
it takes a long time to create these incredible works of art. And so, yeah, people put their heart and soul into creating those motifs, and they are incredible to see. We know that there are still people who deny that there's even such a thing as Palestine or Palestinians. You wonder who's being killed in Gaza if there's no such thing as Palestine or Palestinians. But there is that attempt to erase anything Palestinian that persists to this day. Talk about why it's important for you to tell the Palestinian story through your art, and why is it especially important right now?
Well, I have this privilege and freedom of being here in America, and um, I mean, as much as I'm not proud of being here because of what this country is complicit in and what it's built on. I still have a privilege and I have a freedom and an opportunity to create and to reach an audience that is, in the West. Um, and I'm able to educate people through art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an educator, but art is definitely a powerful source of language when words fail. I feel that art can really touch people and connect people to their hearts and to their own humanity. So I feel that it's my responsibility as a Palestinian living in this privilege, to use this privilege in the best way possible, in the most powerful way possible. Um, And yeah, I just feel that it's my mission. There's no choice. I just feel that I'm here to do this, you know. This is what I'm here to do.
Yeah,
You
Susie,
have,
let me switch gears a little bit here. Excuse me, Krista,
Sure.
because
sure.
we're eating up the time quickly. Time flies when you have a great time.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the piece of art that we have at the museum here.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
give me a second here to cue it, and I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, wonderful.
Just give me a
Thank
moment
you.
here. And I have a picture of you sitting like right next to it, standing like next to it, sorry. So let
Hmm.
me switch to that. I'm gonna share um, the picture. Can everybody see that? Oops, I covered it up for you, sorry. uh, People see it now?
Oh, you can't see the full.
Uh, Krista, are you able to see it?
Um, I see. Yeah, I do see it.
All right. So
I mean, it's an image of her standing next to the
yeah,
piece.
yeah, that is the painting. It's not the entire painting because you know, it's cropped a little. But when Susie told me she had a piece of art she would like us to see if we want to exhibit, and I said great. And when I saw it, like, oh, I haven't seen anything like this before. So tell me about it. Okay, so and
Yeah.
it wasn't until I had a professor, a religion professor from some university in Indiana that came visited, and he gave like a really thorough, detailed explanation of what this thing was about. That I really understood, you know, all the depth of this particular painting. So, Susie, tell us what you had in mind when you painted this, and what are all the pieces in it.
Yeah, so the base of the piece and where it all started is a personal photograph, not of me, but of someone. Um, I can't give names because I want to protect this person. Um, Holding two rifles in Palestine. Um, and I love the original photograph so much. I wish I could show it as it was, but I knew that I would do something with it. And so I enlarged it in a big way, as you can see. And then I just kept having visions of what I would do. And I was saving all my scraps of tatriz, every little thread. If there was a scrap, I still to this day have scraps that I will never throw
Hmm.
away because I want to create art with them. Um, and so I knew I would create this piece and I would cover her with tatriz. And so there's actual fabric swatches of tatriz that create her gown or her thobe. And then I knew that she's a revolutionary, this woman, right? So she's fighting for freedom. And it's a collage, it's multimedia. So I thought of using the Virgin Mary as the face because if you see, in my heart, I just felt that we as Palestinians, we're naturally, innately just beautiful, loving, passionate people who love life. And it is not in our nature to want to resort to violence. But because, um, peaceful protest does not work, we're resorted to violence in order to protect ourselves. Um, which is so and you see the Virgin Mary is crying. She doesn't want to hold guns. She doesn't want to resort to violence, but that's why this piece is called By Any Means Necessary. Um, and there are doves around her. There's poppies at her feet and surrounding her feet. And there's also embroidery, like a digital print of embroidery by the women in Janine, actually, on the borders of the piece. and she has a poppy in one of her rifles.
And of course, the poppy, you can tell our audience, is a symbol of what?
A symbol for me, I see it as a symbol of resilience and also bloodshed, but it's more of a symbol of resilience for me. And there's also keys on her crown is made of keys, which is our right of return. That's what that symbolizes.
Yeah,
Well,
when I
definitely,
couldn't,
yeah.
I
Oh,
was just going to
sorry.
mention about the poppies that
Oh,
many
they're
people in
indigenous.
Palestine
Yeah.
believe that actually the blood of martyrs, those who sacrificed their lives for Palestine, that is the poppies actually grow in honor of those who have sacrificed uh, their lives for Palestine. So when you see a field of poppies, you can't help but think of all
The
of the
martyrs.
Palestinians who have been forced to give their life up for Palestine.
Yes, definitely. I do recall that as well. Yeah.
Uh, let's.
Well, you can just see the way you have just literally interwoven all of these stories, the history, taking these scraps and giving them new life um, to keep that story alive, and incorporating those symbols like the keys, of course, referring to those Palestinians who were driven out of their homes 1948 and 1967, and keep the keys of their homes and that's why the key is such a symbol of the right of return. So, you've just done an incredible job of incorporating what's meaningful to Palestinians and what is so central to telling the Palestinian story.
Thank you. Yeah, I was so distraught in, into 2023, and like most Palestinians living in diaspora, we're dealing with some really heavy emotions and trauma and depression and anxiety and all those things. And I said, what am I going to do with my emotions? I have to do something. I have to make something. I have to transmute it into something powerful that can speak to people.
So, Suzy, I'm inviting people who have not seen this piece in person to come to the museum and view it. And if you're anywhere from Boston to New York to Philadelphia, you're within driving distance of the museum. You can come and go back the same day. And I assure you, it's worth the trip. In addition to Suzy's piece, there's at least another 100 paintings and another 100 photographs and many, many artifacts and things like that. And we also, of course, have the Palestine history tapestry, which consists of 100 pieces of embroidery that tell the history of Palestine. Each one tells a certain aspect of that history from the Stone Age till now. And also, Suzy's piece happens to be for sale as well, in case anybody wants to have it in their house.
Thank you. It's looking for the best home that will appreciate it and treasure it.
How about anybody in the audience would like to join us here at the panel and ask some questions or tell us what they think? Please raise your hand and I will bring you as a panelist. Thank you.
While we're waiting for people to raise their hand, Suzy, I wonder if you could talk about what challenges you've been facing as an artist. I know, as you've said, like just living as an artist can be challenging, but specifically in these times, what challenges you faced, and also what the reception has been of your work, that you've been able to display publicly.
Yeah, the challenges, I guess, is for me, is trying to, keep motivated, to move forward, and with all of the dealing with depression and anxiety and deep heartbreak and grief that we fully haven't even processed yet. We're still in the midst of everything, just as witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be a hindrance sometimes, but also it definitely has fueled me to persevere. Our people have been so inspiring, and their faith is unwavering, and they still reach for love and for life. And how dare I crumble and cry and let myself be in despair? I need to keep moving forward. So yeah, just kind of managing the depth of emotions has been difficult, but it also has given me strength at the same time. Um, I forget the other part of your question. If you
Oh,
had,
just what your reception has been when you've interacted with the public, with your art.
yeah, thankfully, I feel so blessed sometimes that American people, like white Americans, will
Mm.
message me privately and just give me so much thanks and appreciation for sharing our culture. And they had never known anything about Palestine. And thank you for opening my eyes to what's happening. I had no idea, and I'm so sorry. And it's just, it's beautiful that people can wake up from their slumber, and that you are a part of that. That I feel that I kind of was a little part of that in some ways, and so that for me is extremely rewarding, that I can even open up the heart of one person to our cause, to our heritage, to our people.
Yeah, you point out something really important. How it seems like, and I have the same experience. When people learn, often for the first time, something about Palestine and what's happened to Palestinians, their hearts break, and they're like,
Hmm.
I had no idea. And so for you to be able to touch people with, by sharing something so central to Palestinian culture with your message is just huge, especially, like I said, in this time where there's still attempts to erase anything Palestinian. I think between the art and the independent media and these alternative ways of getting the Palestinian story out are so crucial, and for you to be part of that is hugely admirable.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I feel that most Palestinians living in diaspora, we don't feel like we're doing enough. And we have this heavy sense of guilt that
Hmm.
we have the luxury of being here, and we we're not doing enough. It's what is it called? Survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So um, I mean, I just feel that it's my responsibility to do the work.
And what interactions have you had with other artists in the art world? Like what paths have you crossed as an artist that have been especially meaningful?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Um, well, Samia Halabi, which is, somebody
Yes.
I admire greatly. I was able to be on a panel with her in a discussion at the People's Forum a few years back, and I was so nervous that I was going to be on a panel with her because I look up to her.
Sure.
And it was a great talk, and it was such an honor to be on the same platform with her. Um, and also, she's messaged me and she said, "Keep doing your work. You have to keep shining." And I just thought for her to even notice me, it was so motivating to keep moving forward. And I mean that she's the one who really stands out for me as far as artists go, who I've interacted with. Um, you know, Sliman Mansour also, we have friendly exchanges through DMs, and I always have admired his work. But it's beautiful to be connected with another female artist that's Palestinian. There's a different type of bond.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are two great, important artists I hugely admire as well. And of course, we feature Samia's work at the Palestine Museum and through the exhibitions we've had in Europe most recently.
Yeah.
And Suzy
Very,
Tamimi is such a great supporter for Palestinian issues and art. Like I remember when I was first opening the museum, I couldn't get hardly anybody to agree to exhibit their work because it was someplace that nobody ever heard of. But it took Samia Halabi, who came here. She took the train from New York and came to Connecticut to check out what I was doing. And then I got the nod of approval from her, and she said that she will loan me 3 of her pieces to be exhibited here. And that opened the door for all kinds of other people who wanted to have their work exhibited. And we were off to a running start immediately. And when the museum opened in April of 2018, the entire museum was full of artwork. There was not any space left for anything else to put up on the walls.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And she was the keynote speaker for the event, the opening event, which was a magnificent event that we've had. Samia really supports artists, particularly. She also likes to support emerging artists. And I hope you don't mind, I refer to you as an emerging artist.
That's fine. I mean, I've been doing art for a long time, but as far as people knowing who I am, it does feel like I'm emerging to the
And,
world. Yeah.
and that's what is meant by that.
Yeah.
It's not meant that you're just starting in the art business. No, it means that you're about, we're becoming more known. And usually when I put exhibits on in Europe and all that, I get people complaining about some artists that I selected, uh,
Mm.
claiming that they're not really up to par or something like that. And I answer them back and I tell them, if you're an accomplished artist and been around for 40 years or something, you should welcome having people next to you who have been in business 5 years or 6 years, because your presence is going to give them stature. It's going to make them feel better and it's going to encourage them to do better. And you should think not just about yourself, but also about your fellow artists. It's the other way around. Your being in the show doesn't make the show less. Their being in the show doesn't make the show less important. It makes it more important because it shows that we have a very strong supply chain of artists, and
Mm.
there's a big pipeline of art and artists joining the field all the time, and it makes us look better than if we just take the same 20 people and put them on parade every show. And it would, it's better that we could show the whole continuity of the supply chain.
Yes, I definitely agree. And we all started somewhere. Every big artist started somewhere, right? They didn't just become famous.
Exactly. And Samia is one of the people that she really supports that idea, and she's very glad to help people come up and get into their prime of achievements and talent.
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful
that just
thing.
that spirit of generosity and sharing and mentoring that I think is so important in the arts. You see that in the writing world with I just got let me just grab it here without messing up my camera. Like I just got Rafat Al-Arir's book, which was of course published after he was killed by the Israeli forces, and the of course, there's a forward from Susan Abul Hawa, who's a Palestinian poet, but also from Musab Abul Taha, who is one of his, Rafat Al-Arir was a mentor to Musab
Hmm.
Abu Taha. So it's that kind of thing where artists stand by the next generation of artists and help them believe in their capacity to, find their calling, as you have, Suzy, and carry that forward, and to do it not in a sense of hierarchy. I mean, I think that's
Hmm.
what's so beautiful about Samia or Rafat or so many other artists who see, themselves as part of the same family, not only of art of artists, but as Palestinians, and to really hold people, um, you know, take care of them. We saw that spirit in Gaza where, everything is destroyed. Everybody is hungry. Everybody is searching for a way to survive. And yet like Dr. Khalil, that we featured also on this program, who's both an artist and a doctor, who talks about every child that comes into the emergency room is his child. So in that spirit, and I think it just, your connection to like Samia speaks to that sense of generosity and humility that we've seen in the Palestinian community.
I think it's needed more, especially now. We need to be as united as possible. We need to humble ourselves and work together and uplift one another. That's the only way that we'll find liberation.
Sure.
We need to be closely knit,
Like they say in the demonstrations, that people united
We'll never be
will
defeated.
never be defeated.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean the world can learn something from Palestinians, right? That's why people say we are all Palestinians. There's such a powerful story there that is so much in contrast to the arrogance and sense of entitlement that we're witnessing with American power, Israeli power, Western power in general, that is completely throwing Palestinians under the rug, and that's something we all as human beings need to challenge.
Well, Palestine has definitely freed the world. And we all say we need to free Palestine. Yes, of course, but really the lesson is they've freed us. They've opened up our eyes to what's important.
That's right. Palestine has opened the eyes of the world. And it's like there's that saying, the cat's out of the bag, which is kind of a horrible expression, but the truth is out there. And so much effort to silence shows who's speaking truth and who's actually trying to distort the truth.
Another saying, Krista, is the genie's out of the bottle.
Yes, that's right.
It's hard putting the genie in the bottle, harder than putting the cat in the bag.
Yeah, well, it's pretty hard to put a cat in a bag, I'm sure. But yeah, I commend you for being part of, you are a truth teller. You are showcasing elements of Palestinian culture and history and story that people are actually eager to hear and need to hear in order to set the record straight and also open the door to a more positive future where really all Palestinians and all people can live with dignity. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I feel I have so much more work to do, but I appreciate that sentiment. But thank you for that.
Well, Suzy, this has been a great episode for us to have, and we've enjoyed so much having you, and we'll have to bring you back sometime soon and to see what else you have done since.
I would love that.
We're not trying to put pressure on you, but
No, not at all.
Well, you already said you feel like there's so much more you can do.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so we're eager to see what that is. And I totally get that. It's like, you can't possibly do enough, and yet you have to do what you can. And you found your niche for sure. And it's a powerful one. So thank you for showing up in the world the way that you have.
Before we end the episode today, I wanted to share with people some posts we did on Instagram, a little bit of trivia, but also we're kind of commenting on Trump's plans for Gaza. So let's take a look here. So I'm always interested in language and looking for words, and I've came across a word that I thought it best describes Trump's plan for Gaza. It's called figgery. I doubt that any of you have heard of this word because it's so obscure. I haven't seen anybody that knew it. But basically, it means something that appears to have something in it, but later turns out to be nothing. And that's what Trump's plan for Gaza. And there are all kinds of theories about what the plan is for. And I found the most interesting one is some people think is just a way to prop up the corrupt Arab regimes and make them look good in front of their people. So by airing its plan out in public, it gives people like Jordan, Egypt, and the different other Arab countries an opportunity to condemn it, uh, and to say a lot of bad things about it, and to say they will never agree to it, and all that stuff, so that they look good to their people. That was the most interesting interpretation of the plan, I thought, and it really wasn't meant. It was not a serious proposition, but let's hope so. In the meantime,
Yeah.
the Arab countries are not wasting time, you know, showcasing their bravery against the United States, and, and showing how committed to the Palestinians they are. In the meantime, they're supplying Israel with all kinds of goods and things like that, and breaking the Red Sea embargo that was against Israel, and collaborating with them 100% on all kinds of things.
Right. All the way, and even down to the PA collaborating with Israeli forces in Jenin to round people up and even kill them. So it's
Yeah.
across the board, and yeah, we need to shine light on it for sure.
In the meantime, the PA's ambassadors around the world are really going to great lengths in talking about, the Palestinian cause and all this stuff, and then every month they receive a fat check from Abu Mazen, and they enjoy all these limousines and drivers and servants and things, and meanwhile people in the West Bank are having a hell of a time.
Mhm.
And this group of people, let's just call it that way, just without insulting people individually, are living, uh, what do they call it? High on the hog, is the American expression. Uh,
Well, it's so unfortunate because so many Palestinians, got on the payroll of the PA after Oslo, thinking they were actually contributing towards building a Palestinian state, only to find out that it was just for the to create a status quo of eternal occupation. And so I'm sure there's a lot of soul searching going on, and not everyone gets to ride around in a limousine for sure. But there's definitely the eyes of Palestinians are also wide open as well, not just the world. So
there is a range. There's a Range Rover dealer in Ramallah. Apparently, he sells more cars than the one in Stamford, Connecticut. Uh,
Wow.
that's incredible. Anyway, so much for this. That requires several episodes in one little thing. Next episode, which will be next Sunday, we are featuring a book that contains a lot of works from leading Palestinian literary luminaries, I should say. And it will be presented with readings by these authors from the book. It's on our website already, and the event has been advertised in the emails that have been sent the last couple of weeks. So we look forward to seeing you at that event, and I think it will be a really nice event to attend, and get acquainted with some of these literary figures that are excelling and producing great work right now. Um, as we always say, before that, I will put a recording of this event on YouTube, hopefully by tomorrow morning. And we like to thank everybody who joined us today. Of course, thank you, Suzy, for taking the time and being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for creating this platform for us emerging artists and for all Palestinian artists. So, and Chris, that was so nice to meet you. It was lovely speaking
yeah,
with you.
wonderful to meet you too. Maybe we'll see each other one day in Jenin. How about that?
Inshallah. Yes. That's my dream.
As you said, Suzy, we in the diaspora here, we have survivors complex, and we people are dying, and we're just sitting
Thank
here talking and doing things and like this, and they're providing the ultimate sacrifice. So we always feel that we're not doing enough, and we need to do more. And what we're doing is a duty on us. It's not something that we're doing anybody any favors. And so we are always looking to do more and find more things to do. So thanks
Absolutely.
everyone. Thank you, Krista, for being
Thank you,
with us.
everybody.
And
Thank you, Suzy.
we'll
Thank
see
you.
everyone next week. And as we say at the end, ma salama, which means
مع
goodbye.
السلامة.
مع السلامة. يلا
Bye.
سلامات. باي.
سلامات. Bye.